Hello, hello, hello. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Peace, world, as I usually start things with, as you just heard. My name is Wood. I had pressed this mute button, so it's a solid light when it's good and it's blinking when it's on mute. That makes a lot of sense. I need to write that down somewhere. And I don't have a lot of time to cook today. I got about less than an hour, so maybe 42 minutes before I get into this UD Flyer basketball. That's the game that I'm going to kind of cover this weekend. Continue to support the hometown. Hashtag join the fight, which is kind of apropos since as much boxing as I talk about here. Um, you know, bite down boxing, which is what we're getting ready to get into. Hey, a lot of this, I'm gonna keep these recaps kind of big picture. I'm not gonna get too detailed with them. I did put up some write-ups at bitedownboxing.com, photos, a couple of comments here and there. Obviously, it was a busy Thursday night. I got to be honest, I really wasn't used to all of that, on a Thursday night, and I kind of burnt out down the stretch. But we'll get into that. Last night, a night later, we had the card on Showtime, ShoBox, headlined by featherweight prospect, or actually featherweight contender Ruben Villa. We'll get into that. And like I said, I'm gonna try to chop these up very quickly, man, so I can get set up for this game that I'm getting ready to check out. The number 7th ranked UD Flyers might even crack this top 5. I just saw a couple of losses today. Villanova lost, and Seton Hall, I believe, number 10 lost. Those wouldn't affect or wouldn't help out the Flyers, but it could be some changes. Also saw Cole Anthony was supposed to come back today for the UNC Tar Heels. So anyway, I don't want to, like I said, I got to knock this out real quick and keep it moving. One thing I did want to draw some attention to, I think I'm going to check out a little bit of audio right now of it if my system will work correctly. Huge shout out to a friend of the program, Jay. I think his last name is Chaudry. We've only talked, we talked on the phone actually one time, but he actually produces some digital content for boxers. He's a friend of the community, the boxing community and whatnot. He has partnered with, or rather vice versa, I believe her name is Michelle Rosario, Raging Babe. You can check her out online, Twitter, Instagram and whatnot. I think she's out of Philly mainly, but I think she also does promote some shows in Arizona. I think she's affiliated with Pelts Boxing, so on and so forth. But you probably know her. She's vocal, but she actually has partnered with Jay Chaudry to get into this reality series that they're getting ready to launch. She's the executive producer. He's the man with the putting it all together, for the deliverable. I'm going to play a couple of seconds of this trailer that is out there on YouTube. It's Boxing Moms, the official trailer, if you want to look it up. It's on Raging Babe's YouTube page. And like I said, just give a few seconds of this just out of support. Check it out. All right, all right, all right. I just wanted to play a clip from that. I don't even know how that sounds, kind of like on on the live stream and whatnot. That is audio. There is the video. Feel free to, like I said, check out Raging Babe's YouTube channel. You can watch the entire thing. The underrated darkness. Good afternoon to you in the chat. What's up, bro? Thanks for popping in. Thanks for popping in. But yeah, I would encourage people. I think it's a very dope idea. Raging Babe is linked into a couple of different situations. She obviously supports, does a lot for Philadelphia boxing. Like I said, it features the Adorno brothers. That's Joseph and Jeremy. It's a dope concept. I mean, I might bring Jay on. I might get him on next week if he's free and wants to talk about it. Let him do it. I just wanted to get the word out there. Like I said, he showed me some love and what I try to do over here with boxing. And I just wanted to kind of return the love. So that's that. Check that out at Raging Babe's channel. Let me jump into this boxing. Like I said, my time is, I got to keep it pushing today. My time is, time is of the essence. I'm going to get into this DAZN card from Thursday night first. And then hit on the Showtime, the ShoBox card from last night, run through that, and then I'm going to get on out of here. So, where was I at real quick? Boom. Translate. There we go. All right. I'm going to start at the bottom of the, I'm going to start somewhere, not quite at the top of the card. I'll get to Andrade-Keeler. Let me see. Where do I want to start in here? Well, let me start with what wasn't televised. I can go there. I just got a quick comment on that. The Otha Jones III against Juan Santiago. This was not televised. And if you watch boxing close enough, or if you follow DAZN or Matchroom, what they're trying to get started, Otha Jones was pretty, he did some appearances. I almost reached out to him to try to get him on an interview and a live stream and whatnot, but it just, the timing didn't work out. Shout out to his sister, O'Shea, who just came back from overseas. I guess she secured her spot for the Tokyo 20 for the Olympics, to be on the Olympic boxing team. So shout out to O'Shea. I mean, it's very likely that Sis brings home a gold medal when they kick that off. So shout out to the Jones family on that. But with regards to Otha, like I said, the fight wasn't shown. There are some there are some channels out here, I guess, on YouTube where you can check out clips of the fight. He did come and tweet out that he's waiting to get his video from the fight so he can put that out there on his own. I think it's unfortunate that the fight wasn't showcased on the live stream, but I'll ask you this. Was this kind of, in his last fight in Chicago back in October, it was kind of a big deal that he didn't look great that night. Eddie Hearn came out and was critical of his performance. I was in the building that night. You might have saw it. I didn't think it was a great performance. And I'm going to say for this reason. I think he tried to do too much that fight. I think he was trying to do too much against the kid was tough. Manriquez, I think was his name. I could look it up. I don't feel like jumping off on my screen, but I think it was Eric Manriquez or something. He was like 7-8-1. It was a tough little scrap, but what I noticed was, man, and I've said this before, leading up to this fight with Santiago, in addition to winning the fight and doing what you need to do to win the fight, part of that is not allowing your opponent to look like they're on your level, or to allow them to look competitive. And I just think when you constantly engage with an opponent, you give him time, or you give him or her time to touch you and to look like they're competing with you. Whereas if you have a good rhythm, if you have a good attack, if you know what you're doing, and if you have a game plan that you're executing, especially if you're not just a lights out puncher. I mean, if you don't have, when you're fighting when you're a prospect starting out and you're facing these guys with these upside down records, Juan Santiago was 16-7-2 coming into this. But when you're just not a lights out puncher, or if you're facing tougher guys, in your first handful of fights, which has been part of the Jones family objective for him, and you're not getting all of these guys out of here, you can't just sit up and throw 50 punches in a row. You gotta throw 3 or 4 punches in a row and back out. Take a little walk, reset, work the jab, step back in, touch him up again, back out. You just don't get in the pocket and stand there and rock 'em, sock 'em. That's not going to allow you to look great. I'll get into what I'm talking about a little bit more in the next fight I'm going to talk about, which was Austin Williams, Ammo Williams, a middleweight. That also is one of the assets of DAZN. But Otha Jones, and I'm not saying that, I may be wrong. I might be wrong on how he fought the fight in Chicago. I was doing some other things at the time. I was trying to get settled in the media area. I know there was a fight before it and whatnot, but I watched all of the 8 rounds or 6 rounds or whatever. I think it was 6 rounds, but maybe it was supposed to have been 8 rounds, but it got shortened to 6. And like I said, you just can't fight a guy constantly. You got to show some levels. You got to show some class. You got to, you just shouldn't go life and death with a dude who's 16 and 17. So anyway, I think it wasn't a bad idea that he was left off of this card, and to remind him, to serve as a reminder that these spots on the stream and to be on the broadcast and whatnot, you got to maximize these opportunities. And I thought maybe this was just a reminder. Hey, I mean, don't get me wrong, because I'm sure his check was the same. He got his experience. He got the win. I think it just might have been a little reminder to always come in here and to perform. He got the second round knockout. I think his preparation, his energy, and everything leading up to this fight, I thought he was really focused. And I'm going to check the video out as soon as I can. But like I said, now, also say this. One of the complaints I've been hearing with the Joey Spencer kid, just a comparison of how business is getting done from the different promoters. I've been hearing a lot of complaints about the Joey Spencer kid, the super welterweight prospect that's fighting on the PBC on Fox programs. And a lot of people are like, can you get this kid off of my screen? I don't want to see Joey Spencer anymore. He's not big time. He's not going anywhere. I'm not saying I agree with all of this, but what I'm getting at is they tried to fast track him. It hasn't really worked out. It seems like it's affecting him a little bit. He's pressing too much. You got my man Goosen is on there complaining about the kid. The people that are supposed to be supporting him are outright criticizing him now. And that he's going to take some of this stuff back to the gym. He could take some of this stuff into future fights, and it just snowballs from there. So maybe it wasn't such a bad idea from Eddie Hearn to say, no, we're going to step you back a little bit. Take a cue from what I said to you, the advice that I gave to you, the advice that I gave to the team. We're going to go a little differently on this. Another thing that I'll kind of give Eddie Hearn some credit. I've actually seen him on the telecast come on there and speak and say that so-and-so's fight was trash and said that it was unacceptable. He didn't do that on Otha Jones' last card. It actually, when they were in the Mulvane, in Mulvane, Kansas, a year and a half ago or so, or whatever it was, it was actually a kid who fought Thursday night in Anthony Sims Jr. The opponent that they had in there for Anthony Sims Jr., I can't even remember the dude's name. It's not important. But Eddie Hearn was like, yo, that was unacceptable. That was an unacceptable fight, especially for what we're trying to do with Anthony Sims Jr., who I'll get to in just a second. That fight shouldn't have been on here. We need to do better. We need to get a better opposition in front of these guys that we're trying to groom. So, that is, we can say what we want about, and bash Eddie Hearn and take shots at him for this and for that. But I don't have a problem with hearing a guy talk about his own quality and talking about how they can do better and get better. So here, like I said, with Otha Jones, that was the first fight I was going to touch on. I do need to actually go back and check out the video once I get a hold of it. I just wanted to speak on the situation that, it was unfortunate that we didn't get to see my man in the ring. But he did get the second round TKO at the 129 at 1 minute and 29 in the second round, obviously. And he'll be back. The next fight, let's stay there with the Austin Williams situation. I believe that was the first fight that was televised, I'm pretty sure. Middleweight out of Houston, Texas, I believe. I thought what I was just saying. Now, he was fighting an MMA guy, more of an MMA guy, and Donald Sanchez, who was 5-2. This was Austin Williams' fifth fight. But did you see the patience that he had? Did you see how he was setting up his shots? He's southpaw. Did you see how he was setting up the left hand? Did you see the feints? Did you see the patience? Did you see him? Like, Donald Sanchez didn't belong. I can't say he didn't belong because he's nobody yet. But Donald Sanchez can't mess with him. He can't really challenge him. And Austin Williams didn't, the way that he was mindful of his positioning, the way that he set up his punches, the way that he got into the pocket, the way that he set up his power shots, the way that he worked, the way that he worked his jab, the way that he built onto the jab. The how he got into his combination punches. Then when he could take some lead left hand shots and go for the knockout. Sanchez had never been knocked out before. He did all of that, kind of like building up his fight. Working on some things, working on what, new wrinkles, finding out what he can and can't get away from. You saw all of that kind of unfold in the 4 rounds that he, that he broke down Sanchez before the fight was stopped. I liked what I saw. I like Williams' energy. He's a bit of he's an entertainer. He's ambitious. He's not going nowhere next year, not at middleweight. He's not going anywhere, in 20 at middleweight. He's not going anywhere next year, most likely. But like I said, if you get this opportunity to come on TV and they're walking you along right, you're being stepped up properly. I liked what I saw in Austin Ammo Williams from his last fight. Now, one thing I thought he did, I thought he got his head out in front a little bit too much because he got cut. He had a severe cut in his last fight. And I thought he was kind of leading in a little in the earlier rounds, maybe in rounds 1 and 2. I thought he was leading in and lunging in a little bit too much with his head and kind of leaving himself susceptible to catching an elbow or a head clash or something. You don't want to continue to have cuts in the same area as a young fighter. You don't want to build up that scar tissue. You don't want to create a situation that's going to cause you a problem that's going to linger, into the future, until you get to those bigger fights and whatnot. You need to come out of these fights making sure if he's trying to fight 3 or 4 times this year, if not 5 times, at the level that he's at, you can't do that if you sustain little injuries and whatnot that keep you out of the gym and keep you off of cards. So I liked what I saw from him. And Sanchez wasn't that great offensively. He kind of had that MMA guy, that the fighters with the MMA backgrounds. And Williams beat the fight out of him early. I mean, he got the knockdown in the first or second round and whatnot. He kind of beat the fight, took the fight out of Sanchez. You couldn't tell if Sanchez was whether he was hurt or whether he was just whether he was tired. I know Williams, the way that he was. Oh, and that's another thing that I really thought was impressive. He was putting pressure on Sanchez without necessarily overwhelming him with a high volume of punches. But it was just the feints. It was standing mid-range and feinting and the upper body movement and looking like a threat when he really wasn't even doing anything to Sanchez. So I just thought, Sanchez gradually succumbed to the pressure, and then he was getting hit with some great shots. So shout out to Ammo Williams on a nice performance. Moving along to the next fight, also at middleweight, Alexis Espino against Vincent Backus. Espino got out of the gates a little slow, coming in this at 4-0. Not going up against the most seasoned fighter in Vincent Backus, but I think I'm not looking at Espino's age, but I think he's early 20s, whereas I believe Backus was 31 years old or something. But Backus was busy early on, pressuring the kid a little bit. Espino needed a little bit of time to kind of size him up, determine what he was going to do, how he was going to respond, how he was going to attack him. You saw him working the check left hook, and whenever he caught Backus with it, he was hurting him badly. There in the third round, I like what I saw from Espino. Put him down with a left hand, came back seconds later when Backus got up. And I think Backus went down on face first, which is usually kind of a sign that the end is near or the end is here. But Backus actually fought and got back up, but it only went on a few seconds more before Espino, flurried on him real quick. The referee, Samuel Burgos, was kind of quick on the, with stopping the fight. I didn't think it was a horrible stoppage. Pretty good night from Espino. I believe he was trained by Garcia, Robert Garcia. I liked. I want to see more of Espino. I can't say he's nothing truly special just yet, but I thought he put in a good performance and kind of set up the added to the card. I think after that they came back and showed the Amanda Serrano fight. I know she originally wasn't supposed to be on there, but they had extra time. I thought it was a good idea to keep Serrano in front of us. She is a 7-time champion. She came in here against Simone De Silva, who was 17-14. 3 rounds of action. I mean, Serrano was a beast. Offensively, Serrano was a beast. She's got good hands, good power. She got a great. She's well-rounded offensively. She's got a great work rate. She's a fighter. I mean, she loves to fight. If she ain't in the boxing ring, she's in the octagon. She's training all the time. If you check her out on social media, she's an animal. She hit De Silva. De Silva put up a decent fight, but very quickly you can see the levels between the two, and Serrano touched her with the left hook to the body at the end of the second round. De Silva barely made it into the third round. We get into the third round. Once again, it was the same referee, Samuel Burgos. He stepped in and called it off. I think it was smart. You can look at the body language. De Silva had enough. She didn't have any answers. She couldn't really keep Serrano off of her, and it was just going to get worse. So, shout out to him for making a wise decision. Serrano was a late replacement. I think it's dope that if you look, she's kind of working her way back up. I think she just fought that last fight at maybe featherweight. I think here tonight, this was at lightweight. But she's working her way up to 140 to have a big showdown with Katie Taylor. So hopefully coming off of this, it's a way for her to stay in front of fight fans' eyes, and people to be familiar with her. It was a good performance. Like I said, the offense was excellent. The aggressiveness was great. So I think she's gonna beat Katie Taylor whenever they do match up. But it's definitely a good idea to include her on the card and make sure that she was in the portion of the stream so people could see her. So that's Amanda Serrano and Simone De Silva. That's win number 38 for Serrano. Moving on, this kind of hurt. This one kind of hurt. Super middleweight Anthony Sims Jr. and Romer Alexis Angulo. This was for Angulo's World WBO Latino super middleweight title. I don't know what the hell was going on with Anthony Sims Jr. I had a short conversation with him last week. I was trying to get him on a live stream a couple of weeks ago. I think he's a talented fighter. He's got an old school game to him. A lot of looks good in the ring, moves around well. I've just been up and down with him in terms of like, you're not you got a lot of knockouts. I mean, he was 20-0 coming into this thing with 18 knockouts. But and I'll talk to another trainer about this. I really wasn't a fan of how he fought Von Alexander a couple of fights ago. I thought Von Alexander is one of those hard-nosed challenger guys, but he knows what he's doing, and you just don't bitch him out. You just don't knock him out. And I felt like, in my opinion, I thought that Sims really didn't accept the challenge to really try to break down Alexander, open him up, and really land some great shots on him. The trainer that I was talking to at the time, who's been a guest on the program a time or two, he kind of looked at me like I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And I started to second guess myself. But then when I watched this fight Thursday night with Angulo, who had 22 knockouts, I'm starting to see the conservative side of Anthony Sims again. And this is coming off of the destruction of Morgan Fitch back in October in Chicago. I mean, he just has zero respect for Morgan Fitch. But now watching the fight Thursday night, I'm sitting here like, well, you did to Morgan Fitch what you were supposed to, because his reputation preceded him. We all saw Morgan Fitch on the Contender, and he wasn't anything special. He wasn't. He's just the guy. And Anthony Sims that night treated him like just a guy. So coming into this fight, it was his opportunity for a first title in this Latino belt from the WBO. It's a way for him to start getting popping up on the top 15, for the different sanctioning bodies. And, he's got some Midwest ties. They announced that he was from, when they announced him, they said he was from Compton. Previously, he was from Long Beach. Now he's from Compton. I don't know what was going on with that. And then I didn't like the fact that he had some different dudes in his corner from what I saw in, I actually saw him in Chicago twice. I saw him on the Usyk card with the Witherspoon, Usyk Witherspoon, and then he also was part of the Vargas and Delorme card, the first card that DAZN had in America. He fought a guy on that card, and he had a different corner, and he never responded to his corner. So he did actually. I thought his corner tried to help him out. They tried to tell him going into the 7th round. His corner tried to tell him, bruh, which I don't even know where he got that from, but he said that they showed the cards, and he said, you're down 2 rounds. We need you to pick it up. We don't really do that in America. From not most of the states that I'm watching fights in, they don't reveal the cards. I think maybe I saw him do that in Canada one time, and I think maybe I've seen it across the pond. But I don't know if Sims Jr. Was aware that they were pissing on his leg or pulling his leg with that, trying to motivate him. But he went out in a minute. He went out in the 7th round, got on his jab a little bit more. It was more of a stronger jab. He still never really set up anything with his power hand that he was really committed to. It was still kind of like double and triple, and then he was moving. Angulo didn't impress me. He was unable to really, get Sims in the corner or on the ropes, stop all of that movement, and actually touch him. But when a guy's not really trying to engage you, that's kind of difficult to do. But it kind of made it interesting to where the hell they were going to go with the score. And you could tell that the commentators really didn't even know what to do. They didn't know what to say because they knew that Sims Jr. is our guy. But they knew that their guy didn't look great that night. And if you look at it, the cards were 95, 94, 93, 96 2 times in Angulo's favor. Angulo was actually deducted a point earlier in the fight, and that's the only reason why Anthony Sims won it on the 95-94 card. Otherwise, it's 95-95. Horrible night for him. He exits the ring without talking to Chris Mannix or whoever they had doing the post-fight interviews, Claudia Trio or whatever. I thought that was a little I didn't like that. You know, I think they've talked to you the previous times that you've been on the DAZN card. You've said your thing. You've showed all your charisma, and you've talked and tried to come across as this cerebral fighter, and paying homage to the old school boxing and all of that stuff. And then here you take your first loss and you step out the back of the ring. You step out of the back door like, you know, the hell with it. And then you didn't give us a good effort either. So I really didn't think that was a great look for him and his brand. But you know, we'll see where he come. You know, how he makes it back. I mean, I had already started questioning some things, honestly, because he called out Rocky Fielding, and I'm like, who gives a damn about Rocky Fielding? But he did officially make 168. I thought that was a positive. I just thought this was an opportunity for him to really kind of step into the forefront a little bit and maybe become more of a player at super middleweight. But he had other plans, I guess, with his with his outing on the card. So we'll see what happens to him. Back to the drawing board, and we'll see what goes on with that. Look, I didn't even you can see on the slideshow. I didn't even really have any intention of mentioning this social media fight or this YouTube fight with Jake Paul and Anison Gibb. I'm gonna tell you, earlier in the week, I looked at Gibb. I knew he was getting knocked the hell out. Like, he had no business being in there. If you thought both of them had no business being in there, that's all I really got for that. I just Jake Paul, and from my understanding, kind of has some background with the combat sports. Gibb looked like 190-pound dude, you know, that does something on YouTube or something. I mean, I didn't see what his relation or connection to fighting was whatsoever. And he went in there and got beat down very quickly. And I thought, Jake Paul is an Ohioan. That was my only thing. And actually, I went and got something to drink during this fight. But anyway, that's all I really wanted to mention on that. Getting into the real part of the card. What I got? I got 20 minutes. 20 minutes and I'm out of here for this Flyers game. You know what? I'm not even going to front, man. Daniel Roman and Marajan Akhmadaliev, that's probably the best thing in boxing for me in terms of, I was listening to a podcast earlier today while I was walking my dog, and it was about 25, 30, 35 minutes of business, of boxing business. Who sent an email to the Charlos? Was it an Instagram IM? Oscar says something about, Oscar said that he offered money to the Charlos and TV numbers and gate revenue, all this stuff. I don't have no interest in all of that stuff, man. I just like what goes on in the ring, and this is the type of fight right here that's probably like I said. I'm not saying this is the best fight to be made in boxing. Don't get me twisted. I'm not saying that this is the best that can be made, but what I'm talking about is dudes that want to accept a real challenge and just want to go out there and fight, and who actually have a great deal of talent. Daniel Roman was one of my favorite dudes, and just watching his story, checking out his commitment to boxing, his love for actually just fighting, you know, not all the business, and check out my cars and my jewelry and my ring walk, what rapper I got. This is just flat out fighting to me. And that's kind of what I want to see from time to time, especially if you're not going to get off my soapbox here quickly, but you can't be the future of the sport and the dude across from you, he don't even have a picture on BoxRec. I mean, some of the stuff that we're being asked to buy without any unconditionally, just like this. Just rock with my fight, pat me on the back, clap for me, and all of that. I don't really get into that. But here it is, Akhmadaliev, an Uzbekistan Olympian. I think he was a bronze medalist, coming in here with just 7 fights. I had seen the cat fight one time. I knew he was he was real athletic, southpaw. He's with this wave of these Eastern Europeans who come in with with the deep amateur backgrounds. They're taking these types of risks and challenges at 10 fights, 8 fights. It's kind of amazing what some of these do. And like I said, these guys aren't they aren't fighting in front of their families. They're not fighting in my home city. It's not my promoter necessarily. Like, these dudes are just like, let me go fight. The dude, y'all said these belts was important. Let me go get a belt. Let me go fight the dude that's holding the strap with the stuff on it. Let me go fight him. You said he's the best. Let me go fight him. Daniel Roman coming back. On his side of the thing, to come back against Akhmadaliev, who had a lot of talent and is standing there wanting this fight. To come back and fight him off of a shoulder situation later in the year, because he was supposed to fight on the Danny Jacobs card, I believe. He was supposed to be the co-main on there, I think, against Akhmadaliev. And he ran into a shoulder situation. I think they said it was only tendonitis. It didn't require any surgery. But it kept Roman out of the ring from his fight back in April against TJ Doheny, which was a Fight of the Year candidate. And then you come right back from the extended layoff, and you're fighting a guy like Akhmadaliev who can bang, who can fight, who's a very dynamic fighter. Again, I'm keeping this very big picture. I did do a write-up on this one that's over at bitedownboxing.com. You can check out more of my thoughts there. But the thing with this was Roman, good power, can box, can fight, can do everything you want to do in the ring, but he's not as athletic and not as dynamic as what Akhmadaliev was. And it just boiled down to what could Roman do if he can't get a knockdown or he can't stop this dude? What does he do against his hand speed, with his in and out, with his footwork, with his ability to use the entire ring and the hand speed advantage? He just had a lot. Akhmadaliev just had a lot of advantages going into this fight. I like what I saw. I liked how Roman mixed in his defense. He mixed in his jab, worked on his tried to work his uppercut in. He tried to bang at times. He really committed to the body during the middle rounds of the fight. He committed to the body nicely. That's a challenging thing when a dude has hand speed, and trying to focus on the body is going to leave you susceptible to that hand speed, because you got to get in position. You got to get inside to work, a man's body. You can't attack a body from outside all night beyond just throwing the jab to the body. So he accepted that challenge, though. He got cut in the fight. Later on in the fight, both guys had a cut over their eye, but Roman's was actually above his eye. I think Akhmadaliev's was like on his left cheek. And I don't have a problem with the 115, 113 across the board. One judge, Rodolfo Aguilar, had the fight in favor of Roman. Had Roman won the split decision or won it with a narrow decision, I wouldn't have been mad, but I felt like Akhmadaliev won the fight. I mean, I can't say as much as I'm rooting for the American, and I like Roman's story and the way that he conducts himself and all of that. I couldn't find a way to give him the fight, just because you compete and fought your ass off, and all of the circumstances ahead of the fight, that just. I thought the MJ cat did enough to take it. In a rematch with Roman getting a full camp, staying active, maybe 4 months from now or whatever. If they ran it back, I don't know. I still don't know if I like Roman to win the fight. Akhmadaliev, I'm not gonna say he's he's levels and levels above Roman, but I think Roman to win against him would just have to fight. It's not a lot of margin of error for him. Whereas I think with Akhmadaliev, I think he might there's more margin of error for him to still come out of that one, with the victory. And I don't know where Roman goes from here. That's a tough one. Come back, lose both your belts on one night. That's a tough one. Is the Doheny fight? Could he come back and fight Doheny in a rematch? Which is an exciting bout for fans. Ray Vargas just went over to the PBC. I would imagine at some point in time, Stephen Fulton or Figueroa, those guys can probably do their thing. I actually thought super bantamweight would have been a really dope division for if there was a third season of the World Boxing Super Series. I really did. But of course, with the promotional ties there, split up between the Matchroom, Golden Boy has I'm sorry, they're not even in the mix no more. Top Rank with Navarrete. It's just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. Damn, I got 10 minutes. Not Demetrius, but the Tevin Farmer and Joseph Diaz fight. I like Diaz going into this, but I thought it was just gonna be narrow. I just liked him a little bit, mainly just because I don't respect Farmer's power. But the tail of the tape was about the same. We really don't look at Diaz as a big thumper up at 130 pounds. I'm mainly just basing. To keep it a buck, I would really just be basing my opinion off of Diaz, what I was hearing in the words that he said, and I don't always, it's kind of a foolish thing to base your opinion on. But when we're splitting hairs between this type of matchup, I gotta look at what I gotta look at to find a winner. Like I said, I just thought Diaz, what he was talking about, his approach to the fight, how he planned on fighting Farmer, I kind of bought it a little bit more than what I heard from Farmer. And I don't know what the hell was going on with Farmer. For you already not to be a big puncher, 6 knockouts, I believe, in his 35 fights coming into this thing. Diaz, I knew was going to try to be inside most of the night, stay in his chest, stay close, and kind of take away Farmer's ability to be elusive or slippery. He came back in the first round, at the end of the first round, and told Chino Rivas that he hurt his hand. And the next round, Diaz gets the horrific cut above his left eye. I don't even know and at that point, I'm starting to wonder, how far do we even get with this fight? I thought for it to be, the Florida Athletic Commission, we don't always see a whole lot of fights in Florida, big time fights. It was kind of on pins and needles how they would go about, trying to give the cut man a chance to get this thing contained. So shout out to him. He did a phenomenal job in giving his fighter a chance. Shout out to Diaz because he didn't let that cut really change his approach. He didn't move the fight outside and try to jab and do a lot of boxing. He stayed. It was a couple of times where I thought Farmer's shoulder or an elbow or something when they were inside. I thought he had a chance to get hit in that eye. Kind of random contact that's normal in boxing. But like I said, he stayed inside, stayed on what he was trying to do and get accomplished. And Farmer just faltered. I mean, his offense, he looked like a dude who's just been in the gym too much. The 5 title defenses or 5 fights in however many months it was, 12, 13, 14 months. It seemed great while he was doing all of that, but he just didn't seem like he had a good gas tank on him. I thought Chino Rivas is one of my favorite communicators. I liked how he tried to explain, and implore Farmer that, look, Poppy, this thing is getting away from us, and I just like their relationship, especially for Farmer to be a world champion and to have worked his way and maximize, what he did coming from 7-4-1, I believe, before he fought or after he fought Pedraza, and now working his way all the way up to 34-1. And to still be able to take harsh instruction in a fight, and to see the trainers still kind of have an equal standing in the relationship to try to get the best out of his fighter. I really enjoy watching Rivas work, but he couldn't help him. He couldn't help him here. Diaz was in full control of this fight going into the 9th, 10th round. I don't know what was going on with all of the blinking from Farmer. He's looking up at the scoreboard. It just was a disaster for him. Like I said, I thought Diaz was going to edge this thing out, but I definitely thought Farmer was going to, especially in spots. I didn't expect him to just go on a streak of losing 3-4 rounds in a row. I didn't expect that kind of fight. The cards were 115, 113 two times for Diaz, and then 116, 112. So like I said, if he shows up able, to get into his second and third gear and fight like we've seen him fight in earlier outings, it's not inconceivable that he retains his title. But he was gracious and humble in defeat. Didn't blame it too much on his hand. He didn't say much about how he was feeling physically. He did mention that he only had about 2 fights left at 130. I don't know if making the weight was an issue. I don't know, man. It's inexplicable. He loses his title. Diaz becomes the IBF super featherweight champion. I think that was his third. They said it was his third. I thought that was his second time for a world title. Just kind of a disappointing. It really took away from the card being everything that it could have been, especially coming off of a great fight with Akhmadaliev and Roman. Getting to this, I only got about 5 minutes left. I'm gonna get on out of here, get ready to watch this game. But Demetrius Andrade and Andrade-Keeler, it's just more boo boo being boo boo. And against somebody who we don't know and probably won't see in the future. He comes right out, gets the straight left hand and drops Keeler. I had looked away, man. I had looked away to grab some almonds or something, and looked up and my man was on his back, and I'm like, damn, what is this? I'm really not gonna be too critical of Andrade. He got the 2 knockdowns early, and then kind of went another 6 or 7 rounds and whatnot, but I don't know, man. Until he gets the right opponent, whether it's a Charlo, whether it's Canelo. I know some people aren't fans of him re-signing with DAZN and Matchroom and whatnot. I'm sure it makes sense business-wise or financially. I don't know, but Keeler in this fight, it's odd that you watch a fighter who doesn't move his upper body or his head until like the 4th round. But you got to salute that dude, man. He was down big, hit with great shots. That second shot that he got knocked down with and was on the ropes, man. I mean, to get up from those punches and try to to continue, and to be facing a guy who you obviously have no answers for. A lot of heart from him, but just wasn't able to do much, against Andrade whatsoever. And then again, and then on Andrade's side, I hear how talented he is, how good he is, how elite he is, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to say I don't see that, but I just wish he could have made this. I wish he could have kept this around 3 rounds, maybe 4 rounds, and really got the guy out of there. And maybe, it was an exciting, conclusion an emphatic type conclusion, with the 10 count. And it really helped with leaving where somebody can't say what he is. But for it to go on as long as it was, and the referee had to step in and stop it, kind of takes away from the. You look at what you look at what Charlo just did to Hogan. An explosive conclusion, get the guy out of there completely. I just wish Andre could have had an ending like that, and do something, because Chris Mannix is gonna lose his mind if he doesn't get this fight. like he has major pull, as a from his role as a writer and being on these streams and all the podcast and his weekly podcast and the other podcasts that he appears on. He's really been on the trail, been stumping for Andrade and Charlo to fight each other. But I'm not gonna lie though. Those two guys seem like they're better together. Like I don't think either one of them can really do much great business with their other options. We think that Andre should be positioned for the better options, being over at DAZN with Triple G and with Canelo, but there's basically zero impetus for that fight to get made. You can read, more than me. You can read into that and make whatever you want to make out of that. But I don't think either one of those guys can do better business than to face one another. And it's just a shame that because the Eubank fight, I don't really care for that. You mess around and fight Derevianchenko, it's not gonna look right financially. But that was about it, man. I was just trying to run through these very quickly. Like I said, I got a big game I'm getting ready to watch. Actually, it's getting ready to be tip-off in like 5 minutes. Hey, please support the channel. I would have done this a little bit differently, but I had to go help some family this morning. Usually I go on at like 11 Eastern time, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday or Sunday, depending on when the fights were. But I had to go help some family move some furniture and whatnot this morning, and so on and so forth. Anyway, man, bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Enjoy that. I was gonna get into the rundown later tonight for the FS1 cards with you guys and Mike Dallas Jr. I don't even have time for that. You know where it is, FS1. Shout out to Omar Juarez, who's gonna be working on the I think he's with the main event portion of the card. But we do have boxing tonight, so enjoy that. Let me get on out of here. Peace. Damn, I just look back at the at the setup that I had. I didn't even get into the ShoBox stuff with Ruben Villa last night. Phenomenal performance for him. The only thing I really wanted to mention about the whole Ruben Villa situation is I don't know if he is obviously he doesn't have the big time power, but he's a hell of a boxer. His boxing skills, his toughness is definitely on point. Only thing I wanted to say was maybe I think he's more of a challenge for Shakur Stevenson than what Joet Gonzalez was. Again, I'm not saying he could defeat Shakur Stevenson or hurt Shakur Stevenson, but I just think as a fighter, I think we would have saw a much better fight between those two than what we saw out of Joet Gonzalez. Other than that, The Shelly Stayuk, welterweight. You know, he's got some work to do. And then Zora Hamazarian against Suleiman Sagawa. I thought Sagawa won that one. Good night of fights, though. Good night of fights. Let me get back out of here. Okay?